Gloves Off is always on point. Bringing you the best on current issues, community affairs, and the happenings around us. This segment of Gloves Off is brought to you by The Best, so pay them a visit. Check them out. This is Gloves Off.
Well. You're listening to Gloves Off with Professor Buitrón. Alright then, I miss say words on point, straightforward. No jibba-jabba, everybody forward. Issues, facts and solution. Get it at Gloves Off with Professor Buitrón. Alright, one other thing is a revolution. Get it on point with Professor Buitrón. Gloves Off, no nonsense issues, politics, community. A better men follow reader. Gloves Off, a revolutionary show with everything that you need to know. With Professor Buitrón. Watch ya!
If you've ever wondered, if you ever had a clue what would happen if Batman, the Avengers, the X-Men fought the 47 Ronin, you will have great hitting, power strikes, and speed. This event will be known as the North Texas Stick Fighting Championships. It's open to all martial artists. This is where legends are formed, where they're forged, where they are founded. Sign up now. Call the number 956-401-4868 and look up the website at www.savate.biz. So remember, this is for serious martial artists. If you're not serious, sit back and whisper about the event. If not, we'll see you there.
City Councilman Dr. Marte Martinez. How are you, Doctor?
Good to see you, sir.
It's always a pleasure. No.
Thank you.
And the thing is, thank you for the longest time I always told you, thank you for standing up.
Yes, sir.
And I know it's a hard road. I know it's been a couple of months up there, and you've been hit with a couple of stuff, and you guys are planning. So let's see, what are you guys planning next? What's going on?
Well, we got a lot of things coming up, but we'll start with what we just got through, which is budget. And, we just finished budget, and that was an interesting set of nights and evenings where we went through the budget and with a fine-tooth comb trying to figure out where the monies would best be allocated and utilized, where we needed to cut, where we needed to increase. And so it was when you're on the campaign trail, you hear a lot of things. You hear a lot of debt and how much debt we're into, and how top heavy we are. You hear a lot of things, and then when you actually comb through, because I looked at the budget, last year's budget, but it was different from me understanding it this year. When you go through it with a fine-tooth comb and you start looking, you realize that there's a lot of they have been cutting over the last several years considerably, and really we are a little top heavy, which is something that we worked on this year as far as employees were concerned, but really our debt structure is pretty good. Our ability to continue to borrow if need be for long-term projects is pretty good. So my understanding of our debt and how we handle a municipal budget, it's not like a business, it's a little different, but you do have to kind of understand the business aspect of it too. But we were really proud of a few things that we did. And this is the first time in about 5 years that we allocate resources towards true infrastructure. So, a while back, council made a motion to work towards improving our infrastructure and our pipes and our wastewater and our water. It cost us a little bit. We had to go up on some rates. But ultimately, that was the first investment in infrastructure that we've done in 5 years. Well, we continued that. And you know, when I ran, one of the things I kept harping on was infrastructure, how we needed to go back to basics, and we have. We put $4 million into roads. And so that's the first time again in 5 years that we do that, where we're going to have a true street maintenance program again, where we can allocate resources through a comprehensive street plan or street maintenance plan that was devised and came to us. We recently, we got it about a month ago, we got the results of which are the worst roads and which are the roads that need to be improved quickly. And so we did that. Along with that, we also allocated resources towards sidewalks, and not just sidewalks, but shaded sidewalks. And so that was a big win for us as well, because there's so many areas that you see in District 6 and District 7 and District 1, 2, 3 that we don't have enough sidewalks, and it forces people to get off and kind of get on the roads. And that's dangerous. And so we invested in infrastructure, which was great. We also did something that was a little different. We had employees that had been working off of bonds, which means that we were literally borrowing, we were paying some employees with credit cards. And to the day, we're still paying some employees with credit cards. And this is something that's well known. But in a business, you know, you can't pay your employees with credit cards. You have to pay them, you know, with the money you have. And so we were able to shift a certain amount of employees from bonds to true general funds. And that was the big thing that we did, is start realizing that we have to stop borrowing and start growing within our means. You know, we didn't, this year we were wanting to cut the tax rate, the effective tax rate. We weren't able to do that. But one of the reasons why we didn't do that was because, well, we had been doing a bad job of paying our employees to begin with. In other words, we had been paying them via debt, via bonds, instead of paying them through our general fund. And so that's what we did. We shifted a lot of monies to general fund. And so we didn't really decrease the size of the pie. We had to kind of keep it the same. And the pie grows on its own through appraisals. Sure. Although appraisals actually, they went up, but this time the public fought back, and they fought back, I mean, valiantly. And so a lot of people were able to get their appraisal rate decrease, and so even in our own projections, we had to decrease what we thought appraisal rates were going to go up.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and so that whole week was tough. There was a lot of emotions. There was a lot of stuff, but we started looking long term. You had plans for a certain amount of money allocated towards Springfield, $4 million allocated towards Springfield, which is a road that has been in the books for I think 20 years or so, and so we finally have some money. It's about a third or a fourth of the money that we need, but we're going to try to work with TxDOT and with the MPO and the RMA to try to actually get that thing done. And so it was a very good, productive meeting. We also were able to go out and find projects that we needed in all the creeks, creek restorations, creek cleanups, things that people have been asking for quite some time, is to make, you know, go back to the basics, make your city look good, make your city look where you have you know, nice roads, nice water, good water pressure, because we've been having a lot of issues with that in District 6. And so that's what we just got through, and council did a really good job of working together. There were some short-term goals, medium goals, intermediate goals, and then long-term goals. But they worked and they collaborated. Everybody kind of got an idea of what we all needed, and we worked as a cohesive unit to improve the city. And I'm really proud of that. I'm really proud of that.
Absolutely, and that you see that change. And for the longest time, like we've spoken before, is you had a lot of people that would just kick the can down the street. And now we have people now that, you know, let's fix that. It stops here. It's not going to go anywhere. So it's going to be an awakening to a lot of individuals, both in the city and the citizens itself, because now they're going to say, wait a minute, now things are changing, now things are being done. This is really what we wanted. One thing for the longest time that people will always complained about that there's nothing to do in Laredo.
Sure.
That we needed a water park, and we need a water park, and now I'm hearing a lot about a water park being built. And now you start hearing the same people complaining that we did have a water park, or the same ones complaining that a water park is being built.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? So it's you cannot win either or. But let's talk about that water park, because we do need not only the entertainment, but we also need an attraction.
Sure. So, yeah, I think that people aren't concerned about the water park. I think people recognize that quality of life is important in our city. I think what they're concerned about is that we don't have the best track record of keeping our promises. We have very large investments that we've made with the LEA, Unitrade Stadium, the Max, Mandel Golf Course. We put a lot of money into these, and for a while we've had to continuously invest in them. In other words, we've had to subsidize these things because you need specialized training in order to run a baseball stadium. It's not like a city can just run a baseball stadium. You need a manager, you need a team owner, you need people that know what they're doing, and so it's very specialized. And same thing with concerts at the LEA or Sam's Arena. You can't just say, okay, Metallica or Shakira, come on down here. You need to have a group of people that know what they're doing, that can manage all the aspects of it, including the crews and the updates and the different shows, what the requirements are. It's very technical. Same thing with Max Mandel. There's a certain amount of people that use it, and even though it is a quality of life thing, that I think business people will come and really look at that course, and they've done a fantastic job of bringing that course back to life, because we have to keep that course going. But that's a subsidy, right? And those are subsidies that we put in thinking, okay, it's a quality of life thing. We have a fund that we can utilize to subsidize that, to keep that going, because that's what we're allowed to do with those monies. Well, but the water park that we're talking about is a little different, because this isn't. I wouldn't say it's a new model, but it's been around since the middle 90s to late 90s, and it's gaining some traction recently, where it's a municipal-owned water park. Now we looked for about 5-7 years. We've been looking at the potential for a private-public partnership, because I have a big problem with the public trying to do what private firms should be doing. But private firms have to make money for their investment. They have to make a large amount of money for their investment, or else it's really not worth it. Well, municipalities aren't hindered by that. In other words, municipalities can break even. And if you can break even, a lot of times you improve the quality of life, you can break even and even invest a little bit as you go. The two keys that we've seen in the models that we've studied is that you have to start medium, you have to go slow, and you have to keep inventing it. In other words, you have to keep adding to it as you grow. When we did a poll of people that what they wanted, if they wanted the water park, it was overwhelming. People wanted it.
People wanted it.
But even if 80% want it, or 75% want it, there's still going to be 15%, 20%, 25% that don't want it, because they don't trust us. And it's up to council now to
get that trust back.
To gain that trust back by building it, running it efficiently. And it turns out that municipalities are pretty good at running water parks, because we have an aquatics division already. We run pools already. We kind of know that aspect of it, because all cities do that. And even small cities can pull from their surrounding areas and bring people in. We don't really think this is going to be a huge economic driver. We think this is going to be something that people here locally utilize, and even Laredoans can come over and utilize. And we're really thinking of making it seasonal, Labor Day to Memorial Day, maybe open during spring break, we don't know that, but really extending the season to that time when people can use it, as opposed to having this 365-day usage, which increases or ramps up your overhead, because you have to pay for air conditioning, you have to pay for this, you have to pay for that. So the cost is different. And so we're trying to use the models that we've seen be successful in other cities, and we're going to try to emulate that here, and people want it, And so I think that if we're going to err, we're going to err on the side of something that people really, really want.
You know, and I've heard, one of the major gripes that I've heard was, they want a water park and they don't have secondary water. So we're gonna be talking about secondary water source, and I said, wait a minute, let's talk about a water park. A water park is something that for the longest time, everybody here in Laredo wanted. And there's a couple of stuff that I've seen and I've read and I've kind of looked at, and one of them was, how are we gonna pay for it? They're gonna build it with money that we're supposed to be building a sports center with, and they're gonna take that money and they're gonna take from Peter to pay Paul, and that's not what we want.
Yeah, so
How's that coming to live? Just to explain to everybody else, how's that funding coming about?
okay, so I'll give you just a brief historical
Sure.
perspective. When I got on council, we were trying to push for a conversion of half the sports revenue tax to a 4A4B.
Sure.
You know, I wasn't quite sure about the 4A4B, but when I saw economic development corporations in the valley and other places pump their 4A4B taxes into their corporations and start bringing in a lot of external businesses, I thought, well, you know what, we should probably be doing some of that as long as we have enough in the bank to pay our debts. But the governor shot that down. We actually took it all the way and we got it passed, and we were very excited about it, but the governor vetoed it. And he vetoed it simply because he didn't want the creation of a slush fund, so to speak, where we didn't have a true, this is kind of the interpretation that I got, we didn't have a true plan of how we were going to do it. In other words, what kinds of businesses were we going to try to attract? What were the incentive packages that we were going to lay out for those businesses? How many employees did we hope to bring in with those industries? What were the industries and what were the specific business? In other words, we didn't have a true plan. We were just kind of like, hey, we want this conversion, we want this money, which, by the way, was still going to have to go to the voters. In other words, all we were doing is asking the governor to allow us to take the conversion to the voters. Okay, so this wasn't like we were going to convert it on our own. It still had to go to the voters.
Sure.
Well, but he vetoed that. He said, you guys aren't ready for this. So we now have this money that has been sitting and collecting, that we've been charging in the sports revenue tax, to the tune of somewhere around $24 million or so. So this $24 million that we have right now it is enough to pay for both. If we wanted to, we could pay both off. But we still have some debt outstanding for the Sames Arena and Unitrade. And so we still have some debt in there that I think 2 loans that we have to pay off. As it turns out, we can't pay off early. In other words,
You'll be
there's
penalized.
accelerated clauses that if you pay it off early, you're actually penalized for it. And so you can't really do that right now. You can set some money aside, but you have to pay for the interest because you promised the bondholders the length of the bond, and if you pay it off early, you're paying off your bondholders early, and they don't look kindly on that. And so we have to keep the money in that coffer. We have to keep it in that piggy bank, so to speak, for a certain amount of time until we can pay it off. But every year we're having more and more money come into that sports revenue fund, and we need to do something with it. And so we've decided to go all in with 2 things. We decided, okay, if the governor is telling us that we can't do 4A4B at this time, and we've seen models of sports tourism work in other cities, and there's nothing around here for 150 miles, can we be the South Texas Mecca for sports tourism? The answer is we don't know, but we think we can. And so in looking at the pro formas, looking at the studies, it looks like we can do this. And so we're joining, which so many other cities have done it, we're joining other municipalities in trying to push sports tourism. And so, and rightfully so, because now the voters have voted twice to have a sports complex. And so we're going to create the sports complex. They're in the negotiations with land for donation at this time. They're working on all that. But that is something that we have to do half cash, so to speak, or a certain portion cash and a certain portion gets bonded out. And that money that we have left over, which we can't pay debt, we can't do anything with.
That's
right
where
now,
we're going to build the water park.
That's the money that we can utilize right now for a water park. The only stipulation it has to be in 2 locations. One location would be where the sports complex is, And the other location would be where the other sports revenue driven entertainment districts are, which is the Unitrade Stadium and Sands Arena. And so those are the areas that we can build on and utilize that sports revenue. That's the law.
Now, here's the question. So you have to build two or just one?
One.
One. It can be in either one of those
It
two
can be
locations?
in either one of those two.
Okay.
And we're looking at the central location of Unitrade, and we already have some active land that we own there. We have the natural ingress and egress through there. We've designated that as our entertainment district, and so adding a water park there is something that I think we can start small or medium, if you will,
Sure.
and then add as we go, which is the model that other people have done.
And you have to. In some of those water parks, you get 4 different attractions, and 3 years down the road to put another one.
You have to.
And you have to, and it always continues building. That's where all Six Flags and Hurricane Harbor would have been dead a long time ago. You
Yeah.
have to continue.
Every 3 years, you add something to it. You add
Absolutely.
to it so that they can,
You bring in more
come back-
people. Yeah,
they come back
absolutely.
again to try the new attraction.
And that's what we need. Now, apart from that, still talking about water, let's talk about secondary water source. I've talked to individuals from the Dimmitt secondary water, and I've talked about how they were bringing in the water from Dimmitt to Laredo, and there was an existing contract, there isn't a contract that was put on hold. Elaborate on that from the city's perspective of what's going on.
Well, I can't speak for former councils or where that contract is, because I know that there was something that existed, and I don't know what the status is on that. But I think we're talking about 2 separate things here, maybe even 3 separate things, and I'll kind of explain it like this. Right now, we have an abundance of water acquisition or water rights for acquisition of the Rio Grande. So water for us isn't a problem. In other words, we have an abundance of water. But having a secondary water source or a redundant water source is something that can help us quite a bit. But it's not really because we don't have enough water. And I don't think the river is going to run dry, even though it has. I don't think it's going to run dry since they added the weirs up north. I think people are concerned about, one, water quality, right? There's pesticides and insecticides
Absolutely.
and certain things that come in to the water. I think they even talk about antidepressants and opioids and hypertensive and steroids and all sorts of stuff that are in the water.
Absolutely.
But additionally, when you're talking about what can happen to the water, we can get a contamination event that, if it happens upstream to where we take our water from, it can really render us powerless, because
Absolutely.
where are we going to get water from?
Where are we going to get water?
And so we're looking at an emergency water source first and foremost, and then trying to see if we can find a secondary water source later on. But the primary thing for us is to ensure that we have a viable water source in case of an emergency, such as a seasonal drought or such as a true catastrophic contamination of the river where we need to survive. And right now, I don't think we have enough water to survive more than a week. And so there are plans in place, including dredging Casablanca, which is something that I've heard you talk about before, dredging Casablanca, adding lakes, creek systems, all sorts of stuff.
Sure.
And there was even old plans to have wells, series of wells built to pull water out and to kind of mix it with effluent and then create desilting ponds and all sorts of stuff. I don't know enough about the Dimmitt project. I know that the numbers are probably a little older. I think this project was probably 10 or 12 years ago.
They've been around for a while, and they've been fighting with that. And of what I heard and what was told to me, I look at it like a reference point. There's a couple of things with them. One, they want to build a company to build a pipe, and that company was going to be here in Laredo. So that adds jobs,
That's pretty cool.
And that was part of the whole process. And then for them to bring the water here to Laredo, and then from Laredo, if Laredo wanted to sell it outward, then it would be Laredo selling the water, not them, because they were selling it to us first.
Well,
And when I heard that, I was like, wait a minute, that's a good business kind of, but the logistics and everything else, time frames is a whole different thing, you
In
know?
talking to some of them, some of the individuals that they contacted me via
Sure.
Messenger and even
Sure.
talked to them a little bit. You know, I think they want to build out all the infrastructure for us, but I think there's like a minimum requirement of how many gallons we have to purchase per month, I think. And right now, seeing as how we have an abundance of water, are we really prepared to ask the ratepayers to pay a little more to have water on reserve in case we need it? I don't know, maybe strategically that's the right thing to do. I guess you have to negotiate the number and the price and all that sort of stuff. But I do believe that we need an emergency water source sooner rather than later, and I think later we will need at least a secondary water source to follow. I just don't know that, I know that we have some money built in now where we're able to start funneling some funds to that. In fact, we're looking at some impact fees for developers that we're looking at. And some of those monies are going to be reallocated towards secondary/emergency water source.
Absolutely. Some of the individuals, I spoke with a gentleman here, Mr. Diaz de Leon, and he was talking about a river that's in Mexico that feeds the Rio Grande, the Conchos River, and how it's dammed up. Now, I understand riparian rights and international riparian rights and so on and so forth, and we're supposed to have so much water, and I know that Mexico owes us so much water that they don't have, and they owe us a lot. So I think that's internationally. I think our congressman should start looking into that portion of it, right? But I think
The problem is that possession is 9/10 of the law, right? And so it's in your land.
You know what I'm saying?
It's hard to tell them not to.
So I've never figured out why we have a dam in Falcon and one in Del Rio, and we don't have one here. You know, we don't have a reservoir here.
Well, we've tried to fight for a weir system and even a dam system with the state. That's something that we've gone out and talked about so many times, but we haven't had those resources allocated towards us yet. I think the old weir plan, WEIR, would produce electricity. It would help with flood mitigation. There's all sorts of things that it's supposed to help with, and we just haven't had the funds to do that. That's not to say we can't bond, for a huge project like that. We might be able to bond for, but we need to have some funding source built in. And so that's what I'm trying to do, and what council is trying to do right now, is to build a revenue stream that is dedicated towards a specific thing. Right? And so we've gotten too much into this all pooled together, and then based on political will, somebody gets it, and then based on political will, somebody else gets it, and based on political will, and we don't have a true comprehensive plan of what we want for water, wastewater, electricity, roads, whatever it may be. It's all based on political power as opposed to a true plan, and so we should be master planning for these things. And so we actually went out for a water and wastewater master plan, which is a comprehensive plan that's going to talk about secondary water, emergency water, the water that we have, how we're going to plan, the pipes that we're going to use, water utilization, what it means in the future, all sorts of stuff, and wastewater also. And we just need to be thinking that way as opposed to what we were, which is pull it all together and then somebody takes it wherever they want to. We need to have revenue sources that are allocated for specific things and live within our means.
And it should be done. You know what? Waters right now are our main course that we're going, and everybody's going to work for that. Nobody's going to be pulling aside, and that's the end of the story.
Yeah, and those money should stay there and be allocated
Absolutely.
there. And
Absolutely.
so, and really, it's not really council. Council sets the sort of the
perimeters?
The parameters of what we want, the overall picture, but then it's up to staff to go and get it done, right? And so we have to hire the right people, and one of the budget problems that we were having is we have the risk of sounding, this sounds terrible, but we have people that have been here for a long time. And when we do that, they continuously go up and up and up in their pay scale, right? And so we capped it this year, where we're not allowing them to go higher and higher and higher after they reach a certain salary, because in no business do you get an indefinite increase of payroll. So we needed to cap it, so we capped it, and that's a start in order to bring in fresh people. But we also needed to have higher salaries, starting salaries, because Laredo's not competitive. And so you want to bring in these geniuses that we all want and deserve and think we deserve, but we're competing against San Antonio, Austin, Dallas,
McAllen, everywhere.
And then we pay less than all the rest of them. Well, how are we going to bring in the high quality staff people?
The folks that really know what they're doing.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that we don't have them, but you know what I'm saying. So
you have a council member, making decisions when it should be staff members dictating to us the different plans, and then us deciding. When it's council members trying to come up with a plan, we're in trouble.
We're in
trouble.
We're not in trouble because we've got good heads there, but the problem is we shouldn't be there.
Yeah, but we're in trouble. What I mean is because we're reliant on one person that has been there for a long time without a true plan for the newer generations to take over. We just don't have those plans in place right now.
And Doctor, that has been the problem in Laredo for the longest time, because you have folks that have been parts of directors and assistant directors that have been there since, some of them getting out of high school.
20 years,
30 years.
Yeah.
And they're the same ones that are there.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't change. People get hired. People quit because they get frustrated.
Because they don't go up the chain.
Not because they don't go up the chain, it's because the person doesn't allow anything else. It's the same old thing.
It's true.
So, and they understand that you can win 2 terms, that's 8 years, and they don't have to deal with you. They'll say, okay, we're doing it fine, and okay, bye, whatever, and they'll go with somebody else.
That's true.
And they play musical chairs, back and forth. No, we basically need to root plow Laredo departments.
And we did.
And you all did, but you have to do it again, and then start fresh. You know what? We're going to do it again this way.
Well, we've tried to, we've talked about, building through the draft as opposed to free agency, just to use an NFL sort of euphemism there, where for a long time we've had to try to bring in all these people instead of grooming talent and allowing this natural flow of leadership to continue. And so, that's one of the things we're trying to do right now, is we're trying to get good young people, groom them, and allow them to take that natural leadership.
They have to apprentice to go up.
Yeah, and so as we move,
that's a great idea.
And
it needs to happen.
It is happening. It is happening. We actually tried to do it with a Master's Fellows program. We didn't get the funding this year, but we're going to fight for it. But beyond that, we've hired some really good people. My hat's off to Mrs. Cabello, and I don't know when this is going to come out, but she's recovering from a car accident, and we send our love and our prayers to her.
Absolutely, our prayers to her and everybody that was in that accident. And the loop it's unfortunately how it was presented, how it's been done. It's just accidents galore every day.
The good thing is that we won't have to be dealing with this whole 60 miles an hour and then stoplights very much longer. By 2024, our prayers were answered, and TxDOT came to the rescue and gave us about $220 million. And so we are going to be able to widen all of I-35, of 69, which is the 59 corridor. Be able to widen all of that and take the loop all the way to interstate standards. So it's really good news, and hopefully when you can separate that oncoming traffic and the turns and all that, God willing, we won't be dealing with as many accidents and distracted drivers and deaths as we have.
Absolutely, it's ridiculous.
In fact, my wife was in a car accident on Route 20. A lady ran a red light, and my wife T-boned her, and my wife with 2 of my 3 little girls, and we were beyond scared. But it's that having traffic turning on a highway that's 60 miles an hour.
No, when you have a stoplight, 60 miles an hour, there's a stoplight, it's not going to happen.
And up a hill sometimes.
It's I don't know.
It's tough.
It's tough,
But
that's what we live with.
The
and-
council did adopt Vision Zero, and we're one of the only cities that have done that, where we adopted this, recognizing that speed kills and recognizing that if we were able to lower speed limits, we're able to improve survivability, right? So lower speed accidents don't cause as much damage as high speed accidents, and so we want no deaths in Laredo, and sadly we had another one this week, but we want no deaths from traffic accidents in Laredo, and council is going to continue to err that way, because if we're going to err, we're going to err on the side of safety, right? Even if it takes a little bit longer to get there, just leave a little sooner, but we have to err on the side of safety.
One thing I see is, and I've been telling in school, we have a school down the street, is folks need to stop when the school bus has the red lights and the stop sign is out. You've got people crossing school buses and coming from the other side every day.
Mm-hmm.
And that is, that needs to stop. I mean, we really have to go after those drivers.
That's another initiative that council is
we need to do. We need to go after.
Specifically, Councilmember Algelt and Councilmembers Bali and even Councilmember Rudy Gonzalez and Vidal Rodriguez have been working, and actually all council really have been working on safe routes to school.
Sure.
Where we allow, or we find ways of allowing children to be able to walk and to bike to school without having to cross major intersections, and at major intersections having raised crosswalks that allow or force people to slow down. And so we just want more safety around schools. It's very important.
No, we need it.
And we're collaborating with LISD and with UISD on these.
And I think it will happen, because, like I said, we have good heads together, okay. And with all things aside, what else do you have coming up? You had an event that's coming up.
November 23rd. We're really excited about our big tree planting. So
Sure.
we went on. We had a press conference a few days ago to announce this is we call it the return to the 100-acre woods and 100-year woods, and so it's what we want to do is when we originally planted trees about a decade ago, so it's the 10th anniversary of the original tree planting. They planted 100 trees, and so this time around we're going to try to plant 200 trees, and so we're calling all volunteers to come out November 23rd in the morning, come help us plant trees. In fact, I just got back from a meeting where we were doing the tactical meeting of figuring out exactly what people were going to be doing, what we wanted them to do: raking, picking up leaves, picking up branches, putting in the trees, all that sort of stuff. So it's a cleanup in North Central Park, and it's part of an initiative that I have to try to connect the west side of North Central Park with the east side of North Central Park. And the plan was originally to have all of where shallow hike and bike trails are, all that area connect to North Central Park to make it the largest park in any city our size, really to rival North Central Park in New York, or Central Park in New York, and so we wanted to call it North Central Park. That was the vision of Commissioner Felix Velasquez and Councilmember Jean Ben-Myers.
Absolutely.
And Councilmember Charlie San Miguel also
Afterwards,
helped with
yeah.
that afterwards.
Afterwards.
So we're trying to kind of continue that, and so we're working now to build or to clean up the creek right underneath McPherson, so we can create a trail that allows us to go underneath McPherson, so we can connect pedestrian and bicycle trails from one side of the park to the other side of the park.
That'd be great.
And we're working on connecting Divine Mercy Park south all the way to shallow hike and bike trails, and then all the way over to North Central Park, so people can have a big U. And within that, we had a gracious donation that was given to us by Mr. Beto Gutierrez, who had recently sold his company, and he said, Laredo did a lot for myself and for my family, and I feel like I need to give back. It was Councilmember Charlie San Miguel was the one that kind of let me know that there was a possibility of this happening, and so I contacted him, and we had several meetings, and he opened up his checkbook and he gave us nearly $300,000 to build a sports court in Divine Mercy, and to start doing that series of trails also all the way down. And so it's really exciting when people have a philanthropic heart, and they want to give back to the community. And so he told me to scream it from the rooftops and tell everybody that he challenges all his friends and And anybody else that has money in Laredo, Texas to
push forward,
to give to the community, to give back to the city, that gives to so many of us.
you see that heart, those kind of people with that heart, they're giving back to the community that they grew up in. And that is when you have a city. That's when you start seeing that it's flourishing. They planted the seeds long ago. Now you're seeing the fruits flourish, and now we have to cultivate that.
And we have to continue to plant seeds.
Yeah, absolutely.
For the next generation.
Absolutely.
And that's what this is about.
And that's what this is all about, because Laredo's a beautiful city.
Oh, that's gorgeous.
And sometimes, if people say, oh, McAllen's eating their lunch, they have. They've taken us to town and picnics and lunches and dinners and so on and so forth. So we have to come back and say, you know what? Now we're going to start building, and we're going to start doing what you're doing, and we're going to do it better.
But it's
and we have
apples
to.
apples, right? So I grew up in McAllen, and I can tell you that the people that came to McAllen weren't all from McAllen. McAllen proper is a smaller city than Laredo. But when you can pull from 1.2, 1.5 million people in that area, when you have Edinburgh, you have Mission, you have Alamo, you have Far, you have San Juan, you have all those areas. Well, even right around McAllen, just the immediate area right around McAllen, it's a lot of people. And so, they have more access to money. They have more access to sales taxes. They have more access to a lot of things. And so it's different than having a geography of 150 miles away from us, and us being basically a trampoline where people come through,
Absolutely, it's totally two different things. But the difference between, I said McAllen, and you recognize McAllen, but when you go over there, even the people that live in McAllen, they say, we're from the valley.
From the valley.
We're from Laredo. That's a difference.
Yeah.
And it's Laredo. That's the valley.
Yeah. I'm from the valley.
Yeah.
Because it's the Rio Grande Valley Metroplex.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's a Metroplex. Well, we're from Laredo, and so we're competing against, we have 270,000 people here, right? We're competing against 1.2, 1.5 million people. I mean, just think about that. It's not like we're the same size. It's hard for us to compete against that. That doesn't mean we shouldn't try.
No, we should do a lot better, because we can. And here's, coming back to that water thing, what got me was, if now we're going to, the main thing they said, well, we can sell it down to McAllen. I thought, I'd rather for them to come down to Laredo, and Laredo sell them the water.
Oh, the
secondary,
yeah, secondary.
And I said, you know what, now you guys have to buy from us.
Yeah.
Because the lunch you took us a while back, now you have to drink our water.
Again, you got to look at those details, and you got to make sense.
Sure.
It has to make sense, right? I mean, what's the market like? Do we need it right now? I mean, how long does it take to set up? Is that really and that's where this master plan is going to come in and kind of tell us, because we will have public input. The public's going to tell us, if they want an emergency water source or they want a secondary water source. They're going to tell us, do you really want us to buy water and have it just on reserve here? This is what it's going to cost you, so that they know, right? I mean, people are smart. They know. I mean, they elected us to make tough decisions, but they also elected us to represent them, right? And so we have to listen to what they want. And so by going out and creating this this master plan, it allows citizen input, which is going to help us direct the vision of what we're going to do. We can't just be top down. It has to be, okay, what do you guys want? And so it'd be nice that just to be able to deal with whoever these people are directly, but we also have to represent the citizens, and what do the citizens want?
Absolutely, and it has to come down. And I think when there's sometimes contracts are broken, some contracts are amended, sometimes we redo a new one, and sometimes we just shake hands and keep moving on.
Yeah, and again, I don't know.
That's just the way it is. I'm not speaking for them. I'm just speaking at the whole situation or the whole thing, because I'm like you. We can end up in a severity. They contaminate the water up river. Guess what? We're done. Mm-hmm. We're going to be scrambling to. We have nothing else. And that can happen. Mm-hmm. That can happen because number one, that river is connected to. It's an international river. It's not
even us contaminating it.
It's
other countries
contaminating it. So all of a sudden they blow something out there they're not supposed to. EPA takes care of us, but what are they going to do to them? Nothing.
And they can't.
And they can't do anything. So
there's international treaties, but enforcing them over there is difficult.
So one more thing. What else? And we can go ahead and
that's it. Come
November?
November
What
23rd.
do you need? Do you need folks to go out there and basically?
We need donations. We've already had 100
Okay.
trees donated, and we had 100 trees that were purchased through environmental.
Sure.
We have some trees that are coming to us from some native trees from a local nursery, but we need more. We need more trees because we really want to create this nice canopy, a seasonal canopy, maybe even that changes colors a little bit, but native trees that will grow well here, that are fire tolerant, drought resistant, though they will have water because we want them to survive. But we need donations, we need volunteers, we need people to bring their shovels, bring all their stuff, and get ready to plant some trees on November 23rd. And if people want to just donate a tree, we will have 1 tree or 2 trees you want to plant with your family. We will have a way to buy or purchase a plaque, so that you can actually put your own name on it, and it can be your family sort of tree. Come out as a family, plant your own tree, and let it grow in North Central Park. And children can tell their grandchildren when they have grandchildren. Babies now can tell their grandchildren, I planted this with my father, kind of deal. Or my mother, and so.
It's a good idea, and it's a good gathering of everybody together.
Well, we have to take ownership in our community, and that's what we're trying to do, and that's what you see right now. You see people taking ownership. You see people really wanting a better Laredo, and they can't really put their finger on what it is yet. They don't, but they know they want it. They know the feeling that they want, and we're trying to grasp what that is and put it on this canvas. And starting with North Central Park. On the north side of North Central Park, we're going to be working on an amphitheater, which is going to be an outdoor music venue where we can do Shakespeare in the Park. We can do an outdoor summer concert series. We want it to be all natural, all lined with grass, so people can just sit on the hills and listen to music on during the summer nights and that sort of stuff. So pretty cool stuff happening in District 6, and I'm really proud again of council. I can't tell you enough how much council communicates at this point. When you see the meetings right now, people talk and they're respectful, and that wasn't happening before.
It was not, and all of a sudden now everybody is, after a certain meeting, everybody just came down quiet, and everybody started working together.
And it's because I think
the decorum is back.
The decorum has returned, and professionalism has returned.
Absolutely.
And I think a lot of that has to do with they recognize that they needed to collaborate in order to get things done.
And we get great. Every single councilman,
they're good,
and the councilwoman that's there as well as our mayor. Everybody means well.
Yeah, they're good. They're
good people.
They're good
down hard. They're good. They're great people, and they mean well.
Yeah,
I think now everybody is kind of like, let's push Laredo forward.
And everybody has something that they really like.
Sure.
Everybody has a passion. Councilmember Vilma, literacy, and making sure that we take care of special needs.
Absolutely.
Councilmember Allgold, he likes bike trails and nature, and he's slow traffic patterns and building everything through master plans. Councilmember Valley has been passionate about downtown and working for downtown and really reviving downtown and incentivizing businesses to go down there, getting people to go live downtown while taking care of all the people in that area. Councilmember Torres he's in the nitty gritty. He's in every detail. He's working, making sure that the city moves at the right pace. That people are held accountable. Every one of them. Councilmember Vidal. He's all about his people, helping his people.
Absolutely.
Working hard to bring things to South. Councilmember Gonzalez. He's about his people, having access to everything that the North has access to. He's passionate about it. He votes with his conscience. He's independent. The mayor, he's got great leadership skills, and he's seeing that now, his ability to kind of push, the gauntlet one way or another way, and kind of push council one way or the other. And he sees now what is capable when you have a united council. And Councilmember Marte Martinez, he's been a dream partner for me as far as coming and being a rookie city city, what do I call, council member. We came in together. We're so different, but
You're working together.
We're working together.
And that's what, you come out, you all are professionals, and you've maintained a professional status. And you know how to, especially you have to deal with patients. And every patient's different.
Yes.
Every doctor is different. If you go to the hospital, the staff's different. So you have to be able to go right through every single one of them and be able to talk to every single one of them at every single one of them's level. So you were an asset, okay? When the lawyers went in, all of them, I said, now we can get stuff done. And I told a couple of them, and I remember Councilman Bali laughed. I said, but hopefully it's not like in court, because you get a couple of lawyers over there, and it's the light was red, and they'll argue days and weeks, and they'll each one tell you that it might have been red, not might have been red, it was red, it did stop. But you understand what I'm saying? So let's get stuff done. And I said, with these lawyers in there, now we can do stuff that was contracts that were wrong. They can come out and say, okay, this is wrong, let's change it this way. And I think everybody now in unison, if they can pull their trades together, I think we'll have tremendous.
And they have, and they really have. And you talk about lawyers, and they get caught in the minutia.
Sure.
But I just love how Councilmember Rodriguez oftentimes, he doesn't say much, but when he says something, says something, it's common sense, and it makes a lot of sense. And everybody
straightforward, kind of like,
and we're all just staring like, oh yeah. And so each one is very unique, and so you have a council that's very passionate about certain things, and people should be very, very, very excited about where we are right now.
And the citizens altogether have to step back and be concerned, be vociferous about what's going on. They have to, because sometimes it's the only way that council's going to hear you. Before the voices weren't heard. Now the voices are being heard. And when you start hearing people talk and council saying, wait a minute, we need that, let's move it this way, you start seeing the city in general move together.
And I think that's one thing that you see now, is that public input is very important to the majority of council members there. Not all. Citizen-driven mandates are very important. And when people go up there and voice their opinions, and they do it in a professional way, and you've seen it. Even the groups that were before very upset and very passionate and would go out there, now they go up there and there's a professionalism to, okay, we disagree with what's going on. Here's why we disagree with what's going on, and ultimately council's gonna, the will of council is going to happen, but at least they go up there and they understand that their voices are being heard, and things have impacted the way council behaves. Like what they did, the last 5 years, 4 years, 3 years, what they did in going out there and putting it upon themselves to carry that cross and to be the voice of Laredoans when tyrants were ruling, so to speak. I don't know whether that's true or not, but what the perception was, that tyrants were ruling, and to where it is now, it just goes to show you that the public, when passionate and when they coordinate, it can really affect change. And
absolutely, if it's done in a positive manner, it's going to, and in a negative manner, people are going to realize that people want change, but they're not going to captivate what the change they want. There's something there, but people do not know exactly what's going on. Understand what I'm saying?
People shut down.
And when you attack people's family, when you attack people individually, things become personal, and all of a sudden now you're into a different. You stepped it up the game. You made it personal now. It's not about the city, and when you're talking about me directive, and directly when people start insulting everybody, then everybody thinks that anybody else that comes up, it's a personal attack, and it's not a personal attack.
And it was difficult at times because you had staff that was concerned as well.
You've had in the past, and I say this openly, you've had in the past a city that was used to an older type of moving government. Mm-hmm. People talk about oppression. That existed in Laredo. People saw that. I felt it. Other small businesses felt it. Some people were still afraid not to vote or to express who they're going to support or whatnot. That silent majority is out there. They'll go out there and they'll vote, or they'll change they'll change a vote, and they say, wait a minute, how come this wasn't passed through, all of a sudden all these people came in? Why? Understand what I'm
Yes.
saying? You know? And because these are the people that are afraid to voice their opinion. But
Well,
when
they
they're,
shouldn't be.
you know what I'm saying? And it shouldn't be. Laredo needs to step out. And I think now it's moving. And you all taking care of the older employees that are there and removing doing that root plowing that happened, and do another root plow as well, and plant new seeds is what you all are doing for growth. I think the city will flourish
I
and
think-
jump and leap
I
bounds
think you're
dramatically.
right, but there's a lot of work ahead.
No, for sure.
And you know, and I can't say that it's all feel good all the time.
No,
because
it's not.
We're facing so many challenges, so
Absolutely.
many challenges. There are so many cities that are gunning for what we have right now, the bridge system, and we have to find a way of harnessing that power that we have, the geographical and geo-economical type power
Absolutely.
and wielding it to try to affect even more dollars, state and federal dollars coming here, so that we can diversify our economy, continue to build our roads, do everything that we can to push our people out of the poverty, 29% poverty rate, and drop that down and increase the median income. There's a lot of challenges, so it's not all rosy right now.
No, and it's going to be hard. We're not in a dead calm. I think the dead calm already passed, and now we're going to come out of that storm. But
Yeah,
we're going to see the hard parts now.
We're working with the tools that we got, but I'm telling you, there's challenges ahead, and luckily we have a council that each pulls for certain things, and if we continue to collaborate, if we continue this unity, the sky's the limit. And as this new election cycle comes on, I hope that the public elects people that emulate what you're seeing now. I hope that
want to work.
Yeah, that
for
want
the
to work.
positive growth of Laredo, not want to work for their positive growth. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's a positive growth of a community.
And I say people, but really, there's one. We're either going to have 4 different faces, or we're going to have at least one different face. And I just highly encourage people to vote the
Absolutely.
right characters. And right now, I will tell you that we got great people on council right now. And I'm sad to see the guy on my right decide that he's going to go off into the sunset. Because the guy, he's passionate and he's vocal, but he cares about the community. He really does. And so, anyways, well, sir.
Thank you,
thank
Doctor.
you.
Thank you for standing up. And folks, remember the 23rd of November, let's help out North Central Park, because believe me, everybody from Laredo goes to North Central Park. Until next time, peace.
God bless you guys.
If you've ever wondered, if you ever had a clue what would happen if Batman, the Avengers, the X-Men fought the 47 Ronin, you will have great hitting, power strikes, and speed. This event will be known as the North Texas Stick Fighting Championships. It's open to all martial artists. This is where legends are formed, where they're forged, where they are founded. Sign up now. Call the number 956-401-4868 and look up the website at www.savate.biz. So remember, this is for serious martial artists. If you're not serious, sit back and whisper about the event. If not, we'll see you there. Gloves Off is always on point. Bringing you the best on current issues, community affairs, and the happenings around us. This segment of Gloves Off is brought to you by the best, so pay them a visit. Check them out. This is Gloves Off.
Well. You're listening to Gloves Off with Professor Buitrón. Alright then, I say words on point, straightforward. No jibber jabber, everybody forward. Issues, facts and solution. Get it at Gloves Off with Professor Buitrón. Alright, what other thing is a revolution? Get it on point with Professor Buitrón. Gloves Off. No nonsense issues, politics, community. A better men follow reader. Gloves Off, a revolutionary show with everything that you need to know. With Professor Buitrón. Watch ya!